Hello and a very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Pereira. Pushing to bring down pollution levels, Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched India's first National Air Quality Index today. Speaking at the event, he claimed that India's contribution to the pollution level in the world is one of the lowest. The Air Quality Index is a crucial step that will inform the public about the level of pollution in the air on a daily basis in real time. It has been launched in 10 cities across the country, including the national capital. But how will the index change our lives? Will it have an impact on air pollution levels in our cities? That's what we're going to try and find out on this edition of The Big Picture. With me on the show today are Dr. Vandana Shiva, environmental activist. Thank you so much for joining us. Also with us, Nalin, Kohli, national spokesperson of the BJP. And Chetan, Chauhan, associate editor, Hindustan Times. And also joining us on the program today is Dr. Arbind, Prasad, Director General, FICCI. Nalin, I'd like to start with you, of course. This is a laudable move. The Prime Minister has come out with the first national index for air quality control. But, how is it really going to help? How are things going to change after this now?
Well, with regard to the environment, nothing is immediate. The only thing that is of immediate concern is the level to which the environment is. We just need to pick up our papers on a daily basis, and we know that Delhi's air is terrible. And we are competing for a horrific accolade of being the worst, probably the worst, most polluted city in terms of air pollution. It's not good. But the larger issue is that when you're having a monitoring like that, it also, the primary responsibility would be, of course, with the government, the state and the center, to look at what it could do for improving this pollution of the air, water, other resources. But the second thing is also a people's involvement. There has to be also awareness. Some small things from people's perspective, citizens' perspective, can make a difference. Switching off the car at the red lights. There are many red lights in Delhi that are 3 minutes. And at least if one is idling the engine for 40 seconds or upwards, or a minute and upwards, it would help. Now, that is participative. So when people will probably, citizens start seeing that this is the poisonous thing, awareness comes, for the sake of the future generations, the kids who are being born with asthma or the kids who are having a terrible time with air pollution-related diseases, somewhere participation will also come.
Yes, yes.
So that's what I see it as.
The common man needs to be
nothing will be immediate.
Lot more aware. But is that good enough? What has the government done thus far to try and ensure that our cities are more livable in?
Well, there is an inheritance issue. There is a heritage issue. But Government of India is a continuum. The Government of India exists irrespective who comes and occupies that office after elections. So when it comes to collectively to the government, yes, that responsibility is there. There's no dearth of laws either. It's the implementation of those laws that have been quite abysmal, particularly on environment. There is, on account of it, and the Supreme Court has rightfully at many instances stepped in to the last time they did it for air. Again, the Supreme Court is hearing a petition, and the NGT is already coming out with announcements and decisions. So therefore, the government has the primary responsibility, no doubt about it. But that doesn't mean that it has to be bereft of any citizens' involvement.
Okay, fair enough. Vandana, do you agree with what Nalin Kohli is saying? Because, he says you cannot expect anything to be immediate. We cannot expect immediate results. But the need of the hour is we need something to be done immediately, isn't it?
Well, 2 points about the air quality index. It's like handing over thermometers when there's some kind of a viral epidemic, and it does let you know what your temperature is. And there's a difference between being at 102 degrees and 104 degrees. But it doesn't, A, give you the means to lower the temperature, and it doesn't give you the causes either. So it's a measurement. It is not a policy.
Yes.
It's not a pollution control policy. And to imagine that it can be a substitute for pollution control policy would be wrong. Secondly, at the same time, exactly at the same time where the government has announced this amazing 10-city monitoring, it's also announcing self-certification of pollution levels.
Yes.
So will the automobile industry be responsible, or will the government be responsible? Government is shedding its responsibility to protect public health through a quality environment. It is also changing definitions of forests. Now, if in the Aravalli range, the forest cover is gone and real estate takes over and we get a few smart cities, the lungs of Delhi go, because any problem in pollution is a proportion of how much you're putting out and how much you're able to absorb. Now, in this case, you're putting out more and more because ease of doing business, including for the automobile industry, has become the first indicator. And on the other hand, you're destroying that which absorbs all of this, whether it be the soil or it be the forest.
I'm going to let Nalin respond to that. Nalin, one more question from me before you respond. One of the major criticisms against this government is the fact that you're giving far too many clearances as far as environmental projects are concerned. So this has been another criticism.
Well, let me answer that. I think one of the most unfortunate things that's happened, probably for the help of the environment also, is the fact that environment and industry or environment and development are seen as antipathy to each other. You can't, there is no thing that you can say that if you are doing industrialization or development, you have to do it only at the cost of the environment. Of course, the environment is important and we all have a stake on it at an individual human level, because that's really what we do. And what we've inherited is not what we are handing further. The second part is I don't agree with the issue when you link it with, say, smart cities and all that. A smart city obviously would have to look at the environment. Solutions are found also. So to straight away say that a smart city, by that logic, we should even stop where we are and perhaps explore going back to the old Stone Age and live in the jungles, because that's the best way. Nature heals herself. It's actually the intervention which actually causes problem. So if you're talking about soil testing, if you do not have labs and if you do not give the soil testing card to the farmer, what about extra usage of fertilizers, which is also adding to it? You have, so therefore, the point is, and I want to say it, and Ms. Shiva is correct in terms of the anguish. There cannot be any kind of...
But also as a scientist, a solution is a solution. A measurement of a disease is not a cure for the disease. Of course.
But I think that's why, and perhaps you're being a little trite speculative in saying that this is what the government policy is all about.
No, it's written in the papers today. What's the discussion?
It may be. I'm only minding...
What's on the cards? And the government's been quite open about it.
If I may finish, you may have as many counterpoints as you desire. My point is as simple as, one part of it is just a minor issue, which is the index. Can an index be a solution? Certainly not. And anyone who believes that the index is a solution or that is what the government's solution is, I think is also being equally
So what is the government solution? So what is the government solution?
Well, it's a lot of things. It's not going to be one thing only. If you want to solve the problem of automobiles coming onto the roads, and we have a phenomenal growth of automobiles, you have to also look at public transport. Nobody has public transport, so therefore the metro was one such thing which came delayed, but that doesn't mean that you don't need to expand it. It's expanding. You have to have a plan which is 10 years in place, and it has to have results showing year after year. You have to move in benchmark in that direction and do it. The environment-related issues are not going to happen with a magic wand. But if you don't move in that direction, they won't happen at all.
Chetan, I want to bring you into the picture right now, because you have written several critical pieces in the past as well about some of the clearances given out by this particular government. So do you believe that this government is really going to look at environment holistically and do something about it, or do you see that not happening?
So far in the 9 months, I don't think environment protection has been high on the priority of the government, though the minister has spoken about it. But on action, we haven't seen much. On the contrary, on action, we have seen that the entire environment regulation has been slowly dismantled to ease the business for the industry. It has become easier for industry to get clearances. That is good. But the compliance part, where the conditions in the environmental clearance, the forest clearance, the conditions stipulated, there is no mechanism with the government, either central government or the state government, to ensure compliance. And the penalty part, the legal system is such that if in case a company is found to be violating environmental norms, it takes years and years. The government hasn't done anything about it. I hope that in the conference where the amendment to the environmental acts is being discussed, this issue is discussed rather than amending the laws to ease clearances, make environmental regulation easier for industry than for people. Secondly, on this air pollution, the air quality index is linked with the advisory to people and informing people that in any area, what is the quality of air pollution and the steps. I think the government, central government, the state government, all the governments have totally failed to deal with air pollution. The automobile lobby is so strong in India, they haven't allowed any sort of regulation to work in this sector. Since 2005, the auto fuel policy is been discussed, the mileage, that the companies, the automobile companies will have to improve the reduce carbon emission from the vehicles in a phased manner. We initially proposed one of the best in the world. The finally, which was decided about 6 or 7 years, it's one of the worst in the world. Whether all the countries in the West, even the countries in Africa, are moving ahead on controlling air pollution, we are not doing much. If you see the CPCB data, since 2004 or 5, about 50% of cities in 2004 or 5 used to meet the safety standard on particulate matter pollution. Now, only 2 of the 200 monitored. We are going from bad to worse. The government is not doing much. The government, I think, is concerned more about industry than people. It is a health epidemic, and people are being forced to breathe a slow death.
People are forced to breathe slow death. The government is more interested in the industry than the environment, is what Chetan is saying.
As I said right at the beginning, there can't be any argument, and there shouldn't be any argument either, with the fact that if you are suffering air pollution or water pollution, any other kind of pollution, of course, it affects each one of us because we are first humans. And development or no development, that's the primary thing. You're looking at health and you're looking at well-being. Even your well-being is determined on the quality of air that you breathe in. But to immediately, and that we have had a dismal record, that also is part of reality. We can't walk away from it. But to immediately predict and say that the government of India, with a change that's taken place, is following the past and is going to be as indulgent against the environment, that's hasty. I'll let our work speak for it. Because there is a change. I could argue that by saying, and I'll give 2 specific examples, for so much that is said about the government being anti-poor and pro-rich. And I'll give 2 specific examples. Let's take cement. Cement for housing for all was being purchased at 350 rupees a bag, which was 10, 11 months ago. The same cement from the same suppliers is purchased today for housing, for the government's housing programs at 150 rupees a bag. So, I mean, that we consider that it's in the interest of the poor. Or if an LED bulb was available at 350 rupees, about 10, 11 months, it's now 81 rupees. So, therefore, the government is working. I mentioned about it that the environment is something that may not show results. But when the Prime Minister himself repeatedly, whether at our political functions and at the BJP functions, or whether he does it outside, speaks about the fact, speaks about how we look at nature as Prakriti and Ma Prakriti and speaks about portion of it or looking at it, not shoshan of it, because Hindi probably sums it up better in that approach, then I'm not willing to buy the argument that this government is going to turn a blind eye to the environment.
You
So
know,
let our work
the
speak
smile
for
on
it.
Vandana's face.
One important thing, the forest, as Vandana said, the definition of forest, the Forest Conservation Act is not defined. The government is trying to define the forest, only the notified forest before 1980. And all the man-made forests will be out of purview of the Forest Conservation Act. A huge number of forests, the entire afforestation program, they will come out of the ambit of the government regulation. I don't understand how this will help in green
but has it
protection.
been done? But has it's still not been notified?
This is not been notified.
No, I'll tell you.
But under FRA, this sort of circular has come.
No, but it is not finally notified. And my point is many things could be proposed, many things may not even find the light of the day. A lot of things are reported in the papers that may not necessarily be true also completely. So that's why I said, I know that the Prime Minister, because he has spoken at our functions, he's spoken publicly, and I would at least repose faith in the Prime Minister of India till there is something contrary that is happening to it. So when I'm hearing from the government repeatedly that they are concerned about the environment, the soil health card also when it was being done, it was also about not only productivity for the farmer, but it was also in terms of can we reduce chemical fertilizers, because that is also adding to pollution of the soil. When your Ministry of Fertilizers was speaking about adding natural organic part of
the concern really, Nalin,
yes.
the concern really, as Chetan is raising, is the fact that we've heard this continuously for the last 10 months, that it borders,
you've heard
it borders rhetoric, is what he's trying to say. So are we really going to see something?
As I said, and I said right at the beginning, you'll have to wait to see, and you'll have to judge us for that. If we don't perform, and that's the Prime Minister's first statement, that when I go to the people after 5 years, I have to go with my report card.
But
and you judge me on my work.
So it's a 5-year
The
plan.
environmental issue, the question is for how long the people will have to wait, because every day, because of higher pollution, water contamination, people have to suffer.
Okay, I'll throw a counter thing. I'll throw a counter thing to Chetan ji, since you're speaking so vociferously with emotion on it. Tell me, what's the solution for tomorrow morning? What's the solution?
No, solution is not tomorrow
that's
morning.
what I'm saying.
No, solution is not tomorrow
Do
morning.
not deregulate. Do not remove pollution control laws.
Air pollution.
That's the solution.
Air pollution.
So therefore, I'm asking
your government could have come with an action plan all over for the entire country. It could have been discussed with the states today. But I don't think
there is a states conference. Is the conference over?
The conference is going on.
Yes, so is the conference over?
The conference is not over, but there is no action plan
Is
on
there
air pollution
no,
being
no,
discussed in all the
so
states.
Chetanji, let's go further. Is there a PIL which is being adjudicated upon in the Supreme Court on this very issue? Absolutely.
Yes.
So therefore, as I'm saying, to be presumptive, to be this preemptive, to say that this is now happened, it's doomsday, I don't buy that.
So Nalin, is it a 5-year plan then? Is it a 5-year plan?
No,
for
the environment will have to be longer than the 5-year plan too.
Okay.
You will need immediate steps. There is never any plan that has to look at the environment.
So we are concerned today. So all we're asking is, when can we see a framework?
Let me finish that. There will have to be a component which is of immediate nature. There will have to be a component that is medium term, and there will certainly have to be a component long term. Now, just because the track record of Government of India, and I'll put it as bluntly, under the previous Congress dispensation of 55 years of the Congress rule, hasn't been very, very good, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have faith that this is it. The track record may not have been encouraging, but to predict it as the track record of a government that has come into office recently, I will not buy that.
You know, Arbind Prasad is also patiently waiting. Arbind, I'm just going to come to you in just a bit. Let Vandana finish a point first.
I want to say just two things. One, the deep continuity between the last government and this government on three very controversial issues. The nuclear issue, the present Prime Minister is going to meet in France on Areva. The GMO issue, 2 ministers of the last government were removed and Moily approved trials, and then there was objection and it was put on freeze. And the new government has approved open field trials in spite of a Supreme Court case going on. The third, the same ease of doing business was the neoliberal policy of the last government, and it's the same fast forward of the new. So on neoliberal policy of corporate friendly policy, there is no break. In fact, there's an acceleration. On the soil health card, there are solutions. The solution is not just, again, like measuring air pollution and measuring soil. It's promoting an organic policy in a sincere way. You can't promote GMOs and have soil health cards, because those same GMOs, we've done the studies, the BT cotton is killing the soil organisms. Those are the kinds of studies that need to be done, not just say, we have a soil health card now, we will have one more measure on farmers. Figure out why your agriculture has become so unviable. Figure out in this year of soil how you will live according to the amazing Vedas and Prithvi Sukta to respect that soil and not grab it as land, as a commodity. Yes, I agree. There have been phrases about the ecological principles on which our civilization is based. Those principles lay out practical policies. Every one of those practical angles is going in a tangential way, some other direction. And there's the schizophrenia in government rhetoric.
And second, one thing. This is just a suggestion that on the project clearances, government should come out with a long-term plan. You have the satellite map of the entire country. You can say that in these 10 years, 5 years, we'll give project in these areas. These forest areas will not even touch. So there should be clarity in policy on giving approvals also.
Okay.
Nalin, before you respond, because Arbind has been waiting with us on the program for a while.
Point. I'm sorry actually to take it on, and I'll be happy to keep quiet for a while till Arvindji speaks thereafter. But about what was what Vandanaji was saying in terms of the neoliberal policies, we can go for any definitions, but if we go for definitions, the two well-known models of economic development have been the socialist model, and there has been a capitalist model.
No, Gandhi had another model. Don't forget. It was not the socialist model of Russia and China.
You will have to permit me at least the possibility.
No,
of
you
answering.
said two. I'm saying there's a third.
Well, I mean, there could be a third. Yes, of course. So, as well, globally speaking, beyond the
India.
subcontinent.
We're talking of India.
No, let me answer it. The subcontinent of India, there have been two. One, of course, hasn't really found a future. Now, when we come to capitalism, and broadly speaking, there is a wealth creation is not a problem, distribution is. The socialist
wealth
model,
creation in a non-sustainable way is a huge problem. That's the heart of environmental policy.
If you hear me, perhaps there may be also a meeting ground of what I'm saying and what you're saying. But if you'd hear me. So therefore,
let him complete.
The second part to it is, with the socialist model, the distribution was the focus.
You're using the wrong thing. You're using
let him complete his point. After, you can counter him. You can counter him. Okay, very quickly.
Well, okay, let me just say, I consider a point you made earlier as a waste of time.
But I heard it. But there are two failed models in the world.
Let him make his point.
I'm not going to be shouted down because I'm going to put it as bluntly as this. I may have not agreed with something you said, but I had the patience to listen to it. So as I was saying, when you talk of the Gandhian model, In terms of going to the villages, yes, that is something important. We've been speaking too. But I'm not going to buy an argument that just as you feel strongly about it, perhaps there is truth in another argument too. So let that be judged by all those who talk, not by a single stakeholder.
Okay.
That's what Arbind has to say.
Let's quickly go across to Arbind Prasad and see what he has to say. Arbind, the discussion has been talking about how the government is very pro-corporates, pro-industry, and hence it is anti-environment because it is pro-corporates and pro-industry. Your take on it?
Well, I think that the debate is getting misdirected in the sense that there are 2 points I'm trying to mention, or rather 3 points. First, this launch of index is not the only thing government has done, and launch is not the final thing. In fact, if you see this government, just this government, previous governments were also focusing. In the February, there was a massive efforts on reinvest. That was solar energy target has been brought to 100 gigawatts. The renewable energy has been increased. Similarly, if you see we talked about Gandhian model of economy. Why did Gandhian model did not succeed till now? Because we had a source of energy which was concentrated. We had a source of information which was concentrated. Look at the program the government has launched, Digital India, which has the potential to provide information right up to the village. Then you have Jan Dhan, which has the potential to provide financial instruments to the villages. You add to renewable energy. So you have renewable energy by nature is distributed energy. So you'll have source of energy available in the villages. And then combined with that, ease of doing business. Now, ease of doing business is not only for the corporate houses. It is for the small entrepreneurs. It is for a person like you and me who can just engage few people and start a business. Corporate houses can manage the system and do business even in a difficult situation. So ease of doing business will bring up entrepreneurship in a smaller town, a smaller villages. So what I am trying to say, that with the availability of information, with availability of finances, with availability of energy, and with combined with ease of doing business, whole entrepreneurship model will shift to villages which Gandhiji has visualized and which was not possible today because of the concentrated source of energy, concentrated source of information. So the whole program of the government, when the Prime Minister launched the Make in India, he also mentioned zero defect and zero effect. So the focus on ease of business is not necessarily against environment. By creating hurdles, by creating difficulties, by delaying the clearances, you don't improve environment. You improve environment by having a transparent policies, by easy enforcement, and not allowing corporate to waste time on process clearances. We are very focused on environment, sustainable development, zero discharge, water discharge, environment pollution cleared. So I think that discussion that ease of doing business, process clearances are necessarily against environment is simply not true.
All right. It's a valid point that he's making. He's saying that how you need to have development as well, and you need to take development into the villages as well, but you just need to find a middle path because development is the need of the hour. We need development as well.
I think that's a totally misplaced dialogue. We have a constitution. The constitution lays out the rights of people. There's an Article 21 on the right to life. Every case, including the first case in which the Ministry of Environment was the litigant in the Supreme Court, and I was doing their studies and advising them. So it's the government and not the five-star activists that have played a very big role in environment protection in this country. It was Article 21. Now, if the rights of people, whether it be the right to be able to live free of air pollution and not die of asthma, or it's a right of a villager to have water in the spring, not be destroyed by a mine, or it's a right of a farmer to be able to retain their land, which they don't want to give away, and to have their consent. These are fundamental rights.
Yes, indeed. No one's debating that.
From there. There's no question of a middle path. This is the spring from which all policy must flow.
Just hear me out. There's no debating that at all.
No, if it slows it down, slow it down. And I would be so happy, Nalin, if your party could find a desi word, ease of doing business, bhi borrow karna pad raha hai aapko?
Well, I think because... No,
Because your advisors from abroad have given it.
Well, actually, no, I find on the environment issue also, a lot of people who fight the battles in India actually are funded by agencies outside the country.
I told you I did this for the Ministry of Environment.
Ma'am, I didn't say about you. I don't know why you're taking it that I'm telling it to you. I'm just simply saying there are reports also, they've been reported also. A lot of people who fight the environmental battles do get their funding from abroad. So therefore, I hope that they can find a desi solution also in terms of, looking at the environment of India.
Investment is coming from abroad.
Finding an environment solution from, funding sources within India. They don't need to look abroad. The 5-star comment, at least I'm aware at least of one particular case where if you're buying perfumes and alcohol in the name of doing work for, poor people on the funds that came from abroad to help these poor people, that may be an example of that. But I don't believe those who are doing genuine work should be really worried about it. Because those who do genuine work... No, it's not even targeted at you. I'm just simply saying those who are doing. It includes everyone.
But
ease of doing business.
Would you not agree that the Constitution comes first?
No.
Yes.
I'm just
Should
simply
not
adding.
the Constitution come first?
We're completely running out of time. We're completely running out of time. So final thoughts.
As an advocate also, I'd like
Should not it be the guidance?
As an advocate also, I would like to remind you of Article 14, 16 and 21, which you spoke about. That's right to life and liberty. There's 14 also equality before law. So there can't be also laws that would be more equal for one set of Indians and not for the other.
Exactly.
There has to be an equality of approach, and there is no argument. I still haven't understood the argument. How can there be an argument for the environment? There could be differences of opinion about the approach, but if the solutions are working towards the betterment of the environment, that's in everyone's interest.
Indeed. That's a point that you should take very validly, because it's a valid point that he is making. There is a rather sizable chunk of the population that wants all of this, that wants development and wants everything else attached to it.
Everyone wants a car. You're going to have 2 crores in this. How many pickets will you kill?
Even a house.
Completely out of time on the program. Chetan, closing comments from you.
This argument that people who are talking about environment protection are against development is totally misplaced. What I say is that there should be a way in which growth is there as well as environment protection is there. It should happen in a transparent manner. The Environment Ministry, the state environmental departments has to work in a most transparent manner. I think the opaqueness of the environmental law is the biggest block in environmental protection.
Fair enough.
That's a transparency. Government has to work in a more transparent manner. He's absolutely right.
Arbind, I'm going to have you close the show for us. Final thoughts from you before I wind up, please.
No, I was just adding the point that yes, people do want fundamental rights protected, but people also want electricity today, they also want medicine, they want access to information, and somewhere today the industrial production is as much required as the basic fundamental rights we have. We don't dispute that. So government or system or the people at large have to figure out how to protect the environment while at the same time we make the basic necessities, which are all we got used to in cities, but not available in rural areas like electricity and information and medicines and healthcare.
I think that's a good note to wind up the show on. That's a very good note to wind up the show on. We need development. We need a good, clean environment as well. We hope that this government...
We don't need either. We need both.
Yeah, we need both. That's what I was saying. We need both. We need development and we need good, clean air. We hope that this government gives us both of that. Well, that's all the time we have on this program. I'd like to thank all my guests at this hour for joining me on the program and sharing your valuable inputs.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching.